Welcome to the Dottoro Theme tutorial series. In this video, I'm going to show you in detail how the Dottoro Theme Editor works. My goal is not to meticulously work out an own website design, but to introduce the functions, usage, and structure of the theme editor to you. Before watching this video, we suggest that you start with viewing the first steps in the Dottoro Theme Editor video, as it introduces the use of the theme editor in general. Now, let's get started. Open the theme editor through our theme. There's a complex menu system at the top of the application. In the currently active skins menu, you can find the pre-made Dottoro theme and submenu skins. Furthermore, here you can load and save your own skins. As a first step, choose a theme skin. It is always worth starting the creation of your own website design with selecting a pre-made theme skin that resembles your plans the most. Having such a design as a basis is advisable because if the background color of an area dramatically changes, then it involves several other required changes as well. For example, if you change the background color of the footer, then you also need to change the color of text, links, and image borders to match the new design. Certainly, all such properties can be set in the theme editor, but to make your job easier if you select a proper design to start from. Now let's see some theme skins. I try to find a minimalistic website design because demonstrating the functions of the theme editor is much simpler on a design like this. This one is suitable. After the theme design has been chosen, let's see how we can customize it. In the rest of the video, I'll show you the menu system of the theme editor in detail, and thus you'll also see the many features and details you can customize in the outlook of your website. Of course, when you design your own website, you don't need to change all the possible settings offered by the theme editor, as later on, in most cases, you'll only use a tiny segment of these. Let's start with the whole page menu where, as its name suggests, you can set the properties of the whole page. There are two submenus here, the outer and the inner. Under outer, you can change the properties of the whole view area that extends from the left to the right of the browser window, while under inner, you can change properties of the area where the contents of the page are located. Let's set the background of the outer area. As you can see, you can set both the background color and the background image. You can select from background patterns, use gradient backgrounds, and own images as well. First, change the background color. You can see the changes in real time. Since you can set the backgrounds for several areas of the page in the theme editor, in some cases the background of the whole page is not visible because it is covered by the backgrounds of the different areas. This is not so for the current design, since although the header has a background, the subheader and the body don't, so the background of the whole page is shown in the subheader and body area. Okay, this background color looks good. Now let's set a background image. First, see the patterns. You can choose from several image patterns. There are both dark and light ones. The opacity of the images can also be changed, so you have the ability to set how much the pattern to be dominant over its environment. Let's see some of them. The light patterns are not very visible on this background. There are some really spectacular image patterns too. I select this one and set its opacity to 15. It looks good. Now, try the gradient background option. As you can see, several properties of the gradient can be set. If, for example, I change the top color to a greenish color, Then I get a gradient with a linear transition from green to gray. If I change the height of the gradient, then the gradient is only 200 pixels high now. The background below is gray because the background color is set to gray. If I change that, then it is more apparent where the end of the gradient background is. As it can be seen, if you use gradient backgrounds, you should always set the background color to the start or end color of the gradient, so you are able to use gradients for elements the size of which varies. Now we are setting the gradient for the whole page. The height of a page depends on its content. If, for example, I increase the height of the gradient to 1200 pixels and go to the portfolio page, then you can see that the gradient extends to the bottom of the page. But if I go back to the home page, then the gradient is not as high as the page, but it's not a problem because the background color is the same as the end color of the gradient. Moreover, you can change the direction and the alignment of gradients too, and its start and end opacity values. But this is mostly useful if you want the area behind the gradient to be seen through. But currently, this makes no sense. We can also use our own images as backgrounds, and we are able to set their repetitions and positions. The repetition is useful mostly for small images, so we can create our own background patterns, while the position settings are mostly helpful for large images. I have pre-made an own skin that represents how spectacular website designs can be made using large background images. As you can see, I used a winter landscape picture as a background image that remains fixed while scrolling. Fixed position is a really useful feature that can also be set in the theme editor. Now I close this design. I only want to show how spectacular website designs can be made using large background images. I set back the previously selected background pattern because it matches the current design. The previously mentioned fixed position feature is supported only for the whole page, and you can change its settings here. As you can see, not only background but also border and padding can be set for the whole page, but we'll discuss that later. Now let's see what we can find under the inner menu. Here you can set the alignment and the width of the inner area of your pages. It may be positioned at the left, right, or center. You can also change its width, make it, say, 1200 pixels. As you can see, the width of the whole page has increased. Now I'm setting this back to 980 pixels, because this is the standard width for a website. Alright, so far we've seen that setting options are provided for the whole page. Now, let's see how to design the different parts of pages. Start with the header. To do this, go to Headers. In the Dottoro theme, the header area consists of two parts. The header is at the top, the subheader is below it. Currently, the background of the subheader is the same as the background of the content. Under Headers, you can set properties for the whole header area, while under the other menu items, only settings for the header or subheader can be made. Similarly to the whole page, the properties of the outer and inner areas can be set separately. You can set backgrounds, borders, and in most cases, paddings and margins separately for all areas. First, change the background of the header. I set a greenish color. Make it this one. And I select a background pattern. Say, this one. At the top of the header, a narrow dark stripe is visible. This is the top border of the header. I don't need this, so I remove it. We haven't talked about the border yet, so I will go to the header inner and show it to you. As you can see, you are able to set the left, top, right, and bottom borders separately, but they can be set together too. Now, set them together. We can set the width, the color, and the style of the border. I don't want to add a border now, so I remove it. Here you also have the possibility to change the height of the header. For example, if I set it to 140 pixels, the height of the header changes immediately. Now let's see what we can find under header items. Here you can set the properties of the site logo, title, and description. Furthermore, the position of the header widget area. This is the widget area that allows you to place widgets in the header in the Dottoro theme. I have no logos on my site, so let's see the title and the description. For them, the same setting options are offered, such as position, font, and text color related settings. Thanks for the position related settings, we have the possibility to arrange the items in the header as we like. For example, I move the title a little bit to the right, but we can also align it to the right side. Now I move it back. Certainly, the site description can be positioned the same way. Using the font settings, we can specify whether text should be bold or italic. We can change its font color, size, and family. In the Font Family dialog, you are able to select your own fonts, Google Web Fonts and WebSafe fonts. You can upload your own fonts in your WordPress admin under Theme Options Web Fonts using the Add New Font button. I wouldn't discuss this here, as it will be dealt with in detail in the theme documentation. You can access it simply by clicking the plus sign. There are several plus signs next to the setting options on theme admin pages, and they point to the proper sections of the theme documentation to help you in your work. Now, go back to the theme editor. If I had own fonts set, they would appear here, but currently I have none. Let's see Google Web Font. These fonts are not stored on your own server, but on Google's servers. They are fast and reliable. Although if they are possibly not accessible or your visitor uses an old browser, then your pages will appear in a different font family. So that's why it is always important to set some web-safe fonts and always use a generic font family name at the last position of web-safe fonts, because they are supported by all browsers. Now let's try some Google fonts. The changes can be seen in real time, so it's easy to find a font you like. This one looks good. Certainly, font properties in the theme editor can be set not only for the site title and description, but also for several different areas. For instance, you have the possibility to set text colors of plain text and links in the content separately, and also separately for the widgets in the content. As the content of subheaders in the Dottoro theme can be edited the same way as the content of posts and pages, in the theme editor the same font setting options are offered for the subheader and the page content. The advantage of these numerous font setting options is that we are able to completely customize the outlook of our website. But, on the other hand, their disadvantage is that if we want to use the same text color in different areas, it takes longer to set them. These little gray icons are designed to facilitate that process. So by using them you have the possibility to copy a given setting to other areas. Here, for example, you can copy the current font color of the site title to other areas. So you have the possibility to set the same font color, for example for the site description. With the color selector on the left side, you also have the possibility to change the font colors of different areas together. Just select the areas in the tree on the right side and change their color together. This feature helps a lot in effective and simple designing. There are great icons not only for font colors, but also for background colors and images. Now let's see further what we can find in the menu system of the theme editor. The rest of the settings under Header's main menu are related to the subheader. Here you can also set the properties of the outer and inner areas separately. First, I set a background to the outer area so that it could be a bit distinct from the background of the page. Well, this one will do. And I also add a 1 pixel width middle gray bottom border. This color is perfect. We haven't yet discussed paddings and margins, so I go to subheader inner to show it. The two things are very similar, as they both set the spacing, but the margin is the space outside of the element, whereas the padding is the space inside the element. To make it clearly visible, I temporarily set a background and add a border to the subheader. Now let's see what the padding is. For instance, add a 40 pixels of padding to the top of the subheader. As you can see, this adds a 40 pixels of space at the top of the subheader within its border. Now I remove the padding and add a 40 pixels of margin to the top of the subheader. Then you can see that this adds a 40 pixels of space at the top similarly to the padding, but outside of the subheader. Now I undo the last couple of changes, as I only wanted to demonstrate how the paddings and margins work. The appearance of text in the subheader in the theme editor can also be completely customized. You have the possibility to change the outlook of headings and normal text separately, and you can also change the outlook of plain text and links separately. The same font setting options are also provided for the content. Therefore, I will show them to you there. Now let's see the setting options related to the menu of your website. They are located under Menu. Here we can change the appearance of both the main and the submenus as well. As you can see, when you click on Menu in the theme editor, then a submenu is automatically shown to help you in your designing. You are able to set background, border, and separator lines for the main menu. You can also change the position of the menu, which gives you the possibility to place the menu where you want and in a size that you want. And, as you've seen it previously, you also have the possibility to change the height of the header as well as the positions of the site title and description, so you are able to completely customize the outlook of the header. But now I undo the last couple of changes. I only wanted to show you how easily customizable the header is. Now go to the main menu items. Here you can set the properties for the main menu items, separately for the current page menu item and for the other ones. You have the possibility to set background color, background image, and border, and you can add padding and margin too. These properties can be set not only for the current page menu item, but also for the other ones. For instance, I set a white background for them, and as you can see, if the mouse moves over any of them, its white background disappears. If you want to, you can also add padding and margin to the menu items, but now I am leaving these settings unchanged. The hover properties of menu items can be set under the hover menus. And now I set a white background to the hover state of these menu items, and I decrease their top padding. As you can see now, when the mouse is moved over a menu item, its background remains white and it becomes lower because I decreased its top padding. Well, this menu effect proved to be a bit flimsy, but we can create very attractive effects with the menu setting options. Yet it is beyond the confines of this video. But now I set back the original style of the menu. Similarly, under Main Menu Font, you can set font properties for main menu items, separately for the current page menu item and the other ones. You have also the possibility to set menu items to be underlined. Let's see how it works for the hover state. I would like the font color of menu items not to change too much during mouse over. The menu items should be underlined. The color of the line should be red, and its style, for example, dotted. And now, when the mouse moves over the items other than the current page menu item, you can see a red dotted line appearing below the items. Unfortunately, not distinct enough from the background. I tried to make it distinct. This white color is better. With such methods, it is easy to create spectacular menus in the theme editor. Setting options for the submenus are very similar to setting options for the main menus. You are able to set background, border, separator lines, and submenu icons. Similarly to main menu items, you can separately set the properties of the current page submenu item and the other items, so you have the possibility to completely customize the outlook of submenus. Moreover, the pre-made submenu skins provide effective help for you to create your own menu design. You can access them under Skins with the Submenu Skins button. This dialog is very similar to the Theme Skins dialog. Here it is easy to find a menu design you like. After you have selected it, you can completely customize it with the setting options mentioned previously. This one matches the page. The next one should be the footer. In the Dottoro theme, the footer consists of two parts, a box containing widgets and the text box right under it. The text box usually contains the copyright and other information related to the website. Under Whole, you can set properties for the whole footer area. Under Widget Box Outer and Inner, you can design the box containing widgets. Under the rest of the menu items, you can change the look of the text box. The properties of widgets appearing in the footer can be set not here, but under Widgets. Here you can find all widget-related settings, but I talk about this later. Now I change the backgrounds of the outer and the inner areas to show you which one is which. First, the background of the outer, then the inner. The text box works the same way. This is the outer, and this is the inner area. Finally, you can also set the font properties of the content in the text box for both plain text and links alike. but I will rather show font settings in detail for the content. I go to another page on my website where the sidebar is visible. Now go to Body. The body consists of two parts, the page content and the sidebar. Under the Body menu, we can find the usual outer and inner settings, and additionally a content and a font menu. The properties of the sidebar can be set under the Sidebar menu. For example, set a background for the sidebar. As you can see, the sidebar extends to the footer on this page. But, for example, if we switch to the blog page, then the sidebar does not extend to the footer, because the page content is higher than the sidebar. If we want to set a background behind the sidebar that always extends to the footer, then set a background not for the sidebar, but for the body inner, and a different one for the page content. Now, I set a background for the content that is similar to the background of the whole page. In this design, the background behind the sidebar always extends to the footer. Let's see another example. Remove the background of the content and set a background pattern for the sidebar. And increase its opacity to make it better visible. The first two of the background patterns do not contain any patterns. The first one is pure black, the second one is pure white. Now I select the black one and set its opacity to 10. As you can see now, the background of the whole page is seen through the sidebar. So, for example, if it had a large picture in the background, a special effect could be achieved. I used the same effect in my skin presented at the beginning of this video. There are two other really useful setting options under the sidebar menu, the side and the width. With the side option, you are able to move the sidebar to the left or to the right. This will be the default location of the sidebar, but you also have the possibility to change this for each page that you create in your theme. You may remember that under Whole Page you had the possibility to set the width of your pages under the Whole Page menu. In addition, here you can set the amount of space reserved by the sidebar on the page. In the Dottoro theme, with the help of widget areas, you are able to create a huge variety of widget layouts. Therefore, you can easily create 2 or more column sidebars in the required width. And to really make the sidebar completely customizable, you can customize the appearance of widgets as well. But these options are located under the Widgets menu. Before I show you this, go back to Body. Here we haven't yet discussed the last menu, the font. Before this, I go to the sample page on my website, because it'll be easier for me to demonstrate the font settings on this page. Under the font menu, you are able to customize the appearance of text. Similar to the subheader, here you also have the possibility to change the outlook of headings and normal text separately. And you can also change the outlook of plain text and links separately. We haven't changed the outlook of links yet, so I will show this now. You can change their font color and you can specify whether they should be bold, italic, or underlined. First, I change their color so they match the design of my website better. For example, this color is better. And now, change the appearance of links when the mouse hovers over them. First, change their color. And now set links to be underlined. And make the color of the underline a bit darker. And its style should be dashed. And as you can see, when the mouse moves over the link, a dashed underline appears. With these options, you have the possibility to make the appearance of links diverse. And now, let's continue with widgets. But before this, I remove the background of the sidebar. In the Dottoro theme, you can put widgets into the header, subheader, content, sidebar, and the footer as well. Since the background of these areas can be different, it is necessary to have a chance to set widget properties for each area separately. Therefore, you will have the same setting options for each area under the Widgets menu. Now, for example, change the properties of widgets appearing in the sidebar. Here you can find settings for the whole area of widgets, for widget titles, for fonts used in widget titles, for widget bodies, for fonts used in widget bodies, and finally, some settings for list widgets. Now, for example, change the background color of widgets, and, as you can see, the changes become visible immediately. Certainly, you can also find the other usual settings here: background image, border, padding, and margin. Similarly, you can also change, for example, the background color of widget titles, and more other properties of widgets, but now I won't show you these. It is really useful that we have the possibility to design widgets in different areas separately. But what can we do if, for example, we want to apply the same settings to the widgets in the content and the footer? If you have a look at the current website design, you can see that the background of the content is very similar to the background of the sidebar. So, if widgets look good in the sidebar, then widgets with the same settings will also look good in the content. But what shall we do in this case? Do we need to set all settings one by one for the widgets in the content, or is there any other solution? The Copy Settings dialog was introduced for such cases. It is accessible through the toolbar of the Theme Editor. If you navigate to areas in the menu system where the Copy Settings dialog can help in your work, then its toolbar icon becomes highlighted. The Copy Settings dialog has 3 columns. In the first one, we should select the settings group we want to copy, in this case, the settings of widgets in the sidebar. In the middle column, we should select the items from the settings groups we want to copy. Now I would like all of them. Finally, in the third column, we should select for which destination settings group we want to apply the settings. Currently, there aren't any widgets in the content, so I will copy the settings of widgets from the sidebar to the footer. The widgets won't look good here, but the change will be well visible. After I select the checkbox, the changes can be seen immediately, and now the widgets in the footer have the same settings as the widgets in the sidebar. Now I clear the checkbox, as I just wanted to show its function. Of course, you can copy the settings of the widgets the same way to the content, header, and the subheader as well. Now we are done with the most important features of the Theme Editor. In addition, you can change the appearance of several other components of your pages in the Theme Editor. One of them is related to comments. To show you this, first I open a page on my website with comments. Under the Whole menu, you are able to change the settings of the whole comment block, which includes both the comments list and the comment form. And you can also change the indentation for comment replies to make the comment lists more organized. Under the comment form menu, you can customize the outlook of the comment reply form. And under the Author and Visitor Comments menus, you are able to design author comments and visitor comments separately. First, change the appearance of visitor comments. The background and the border. And now change the author comments. First, the background of the whole block, and the border, then the inner area of author comments. I removed its background for a while. Add some border, and set a lighter background to it. As you can see, this way you can easily make author and visitor comments distinct. If you don't want to distinguish them drastically, the Copy Settings dialog can also help you here. Finally, let's go to the Components menu. Here we can find several setting options. The first one is the default skins that we can separately apply for the header, subheader, content, sidebar, and the footer. In the Dottoro theme, skin selection is supported by several widgets and shortcodes. Therefore, skin support allows you to modify the default appearance of content created with shortcodes and widgets. For example, you can set the skins of buttons created with the button shortcode, or, for example, you can specify whether a comments list created with the Recent Comments widget should display icons with comments, and what the skin of icons should be like. If no skin is specified for a shortcode, or if you choose the Auto Skin option for a widget, then the shortcode or widget uses the default skin set here in the theme editor. The advantage of default skins is that if you change your website design, then shortcodes and widgets using the default skin will automatically match your new design, while others that use custom skins will not necessarily do. Now, for example, if I change the default skin in the sidebar, you can see that the appearance of icons have changed, since widgets in the sidebar use the default skin on my website. Now I set this value back to the original. Here you can also have the possibility to set other default values for shortcodes for the divider, table, tab, and box shortcodes. Okay, let's move on. Under the breadcrumb menu, you can customize the outlook of the breadcrumbs, but I won't show you this now. Under the Input Fields menu, you can change the appearance of input fields, and you can do that separately for the different page areas. Now, for example, I changed the background of input fields in the content, and their border as well. Now, I will use the Copy Settings dialog to apply the same settings for hover state of input fields. Finally, if I move the mouse over the input fields, you can see that nothing changes, but if I click in them, they are still a little bit too light. First, I changed the background color of the hover state a bit. And the font color as well. Now, if I move the mouse over the input fields, their outlook slightly changes, but if I click in them, they are still too light. To change this, I apply these settings of the hover state to the focus and focus hover states too. And now, as you can see, if I click in one of them, its appearance does not change. It looks the same as when the mouse is over it. Of course, you can change these properties of input fields not only in the content, but also in other areas, for example, in the sidebar and the footer as well. I think it bothers not only me that the image frames are too light. It's time to change this. To do this, go to Image Links. As you can see, here you also have the possibility to set the properties of images for different areas separately. Furthermore, you can do this for the normal and hover states separately too. Now I change their background color in the content. And their border too. Now I would like the image frames to become a bit lighter when the mouse is over them. I make this color a bit lighter and the border a bit darker. Now it is easier to notice when the mouse is over them. And finally, I will use the Copy Settings dialog to copy the image settings from the content to the sidebar. Not only the settings of the hover state, but also the normal state. Now, they look much better in the sidebar as well. You also have the possibility to change the appearance of paginations. You can change font properties, the appearance of pagination buttons, separately the current page button and the other ones, and you can also set the appearance of their hover state. But now, I don't want to change them. Instead, let's find out how to customize the appearance of meta informations of blog posts. To do this, go to the Meta Info menu. Here you can change the appearance of meta informations in detail. First, I remove the background and the border of the Meta Info box. And I decrease its button margin and padding because there is too much space below it. You have the possibility to customize the appearance of each Meta Info item separately. For example, change the settings of the comments. You can change its font family and size, its text color, and the skin of the icon appearing on the left. These setting options can be changed not only for blog pages, but also for blog post pages, and not only for the blog post type, but also for the news and portfolio post types. Of course, the Copy Settings dialog can also help you here. There's only one thing left, the Post List Boxes menu, where you can customize the appearance of post lists appearing on blog, news, and portfolio pages. Here you can design the post list boxes on blog, news, and portfolio pages separately. For example, I set a background to it. And decrease the space at the top of the boxes to 5 pixels. Then increase the space at the top but outside the boxes to 20 pixels. So I increase the distance between the boxes. Of course, you can similarly customize the appearance of, for example, the portfolio pages. But in this long video, I won't show this in details. As you have seen, in the theme editor you can entirely customize the appearance of your website as well as the efficient tools that support your work. In this video, I've tried to show you as many functions as possible. But certainly when you are creating your website design, you don't need to change all possible settings. Just select a pre-made theme design which comes close to your ideas, and customize certain details. I do hope that I've managed to give you an insight into the possibilities in the Dottoro Theme Editor, and I also hope that this video will help you in creating your own website designs. Thank you for your sustained attention. Have fun while you experiment to see what you can create.